Town of Belgrade Board of Select Persons, May 18, 2021, meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll take a motion to open the meeting. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 absent. All right, first up, we have public comment, and that is there anyone here who has something that they would like to bring to the Select Board's attention that won't be covered on this evening's agenda? Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, thank you. I've been reading in the minutes and heard elsewhere that you've approved a sign for the park down in the village, which is a fine thing. I don't have a problem with that. But for a long time, I have been pushing to get a sign on the northern boundary of town on Route 27 coming in from Rome. And I would like to see, I'm going to make another appeal for a sign there so people know what town they're in when they cross the line. The signs on all the other major roads are very nice, but we don't have one there. I'm not sure what the reason is. I do have a thought, but I'm not going to go into it now. But I would like to see a sign at that entrance to the town. I have no objection to one at the park, but I'd like to see one at the entrance of the town.
Yeah, we had actually asked at the last meeting if anyone could think of any borders around the town that maybe didn't have a sign yet, so that we could order one for there. So we'll add that one to the list, Mike.
Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned. Our intention was when we did that to mark all of our boundaries.
Yeah, I'm thinking only of the major routes. You know, there are some routes coming over from Mount Vernon over Castle Island and all, which we go crazy putting signs up everywhere. But the major routes, anyway, I think it's in order. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Is there anybody on the board that has an objection to that? All right, seeing none. Ricky, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I just realized I'm like, well, I just spoke for the group. Sorry, guys. So if you scroll down to the bottom of your screen, if you move your cursor under reactions, there's a spot that if you click on that, there's a bar that says raise hand. If you have something if you have something that's on the agenda that you'd like to speak on, if you click that, it's going to move you up to the top left of my screen. So I'll see you more readily call on you. So does anyone else have anything for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move right along to old business. First up is the approval of the May 4th, 2021 Select Board minutes. I'll take a motion.
So be it.
And a second. All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that item is open for discussion. All right, seeing none. Barbara, what's your pleasure?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
All right, 5-4-0 against. All right, next up, we have the consideration of purchasing replacement appliances for citizen Joy Burgess, who is one of the folks, a little bit of background, whose appliances have been compromised by the salt well contamination, which the issue we're addressing. But this is a little hotter item. So, Anthony, let me take a motion first to open that, sorry.
Be it.
And a second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right. Anthony, do you want to preface that?
Certainly. So you will recall that earlier you had charged me with getting some quotes on some appliances to replace Mrs. Burgess's appliances that have been corroded by the salt that's in the aquifer underneath her home. And so Bruce Galouche, the town's plumber, went over and inventoried those appliances. and found that indeed the refrigerator, the washing machine, and the dishwasher needed to be replaced. I sought quotes from 4 different vendors, Home Depot, Lowe's, Steve's Appliance, and Dave's Appliance. And in the end, Steve's offered the lowest or most competitive bid for the refrigerator and for the washing machine. Dave's Appliance offered the most competitive quote for the dishwasher. Now that price does not include installation, so we would need the town plumber to do that installation for us. Also, Bruce found that the water heater, the pump tank, and several fixtures have also been corroded and needed to be replaced. And he provided an estimate of $2,560 for that. And that includes the installation. So I have corresponded with Ms. Henry, who is Mrs. Burgess's daughter. And I think all these appliances are to Mrs. Burgess's liking. And just so the total expense would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5,600. And as a reminder, we would split that cost 50-50 with the Maine Department of Transportation.
All right, so I'm noticing the dishwasher installation cost isn't in there. Bruce, in your estimate, does that include the installation of the dishwasher, or is that an additional fee that we should be putting into the total?
No, that's in there, and installing the chilled water and ice maker part of the refrigerator also.
Okay.
Do we know how the state feels about their half of that price? Because I know with our meeting the other day on the contract that we're talking about signing with them, they're talking about valuation and depreciation and everything else.
So Dan, all I can say is that when we initially talked with the state about replacing these, they were all for that. And they were all for us taking the lead on it. And they were the ones who were insistent that we go with new appliances versus, I guess, refurbished appliances. And I think when you look at these quotes, they are all pretty competitive. You can see Steve's is well underneath, especially on the refrigerator, Home Depot and Lowe's. And Dave's was well beneath everybody by about $200 on the dishwasher. So, you know, if you want to approve this contingent upon DOT's approval of the cost, I don't mind running these costs by them tomorrow.
I think we're going to have to, because they're talking about if we have to replace appliances in any of these other places, they're talking about appraising the value of them and depreciating depending on the age. They're only going to cover so much.
Yeah, well, and I will say, in this instance, none of the appliances that Mrs. Burgess currently has in her home are in production. So these were older appliances, but nonetheless, they've been badly corroded by the salt, at least in the estimation of Bruce.
No, I don't doubt that, but I'm just saying that we may be paying more than 50% depending on how they state decides to proceed.
Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I will make a motion that we approve the purchase and installation of the Samsung refrigerator and the Whirlpool washing machine from Steve's Appliance and the Maytag dishwasher from Dave's Appliance. Sorry, I'm going to back up 1 second. Each one of those has a delivery fee. Is that also in this bottom line, or are we looking at another $65 between the two?
I did include that in the estimate that's provided in the background memo.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's my motion contingent on Maine DOT's approval of their half.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
Yes. The state reimburses also the replacement of the plumbing, not just the appliances.
Correct.
Okay, they do the whole total, 50%? Okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Oh, bathroom is terrible.
Ricky?
What's gonna happen if the state says they're not gonna pay the 50%?
I will. I will return to the board with that and we'll figure out what we're going to do at that point. I frankly, Rick, I'd be shocked if the DOT doesn't approve this.
It did seem like I did address this with them at the meeting that we had last Thursday evening, and that was one of my questions, was that in this instance, they were looking at wanting us to purchase all new appliances. And yet, moving forward, the discussion was, and in the contract, the preliminary contract, they were looking at depreciating the value. So that's something that they said is not written in stone at this point, but that they felt like we needed to do new appliances here, that's where they stood on that. So I'd be surprised if they didn't say yes as well. Mrs. Burgess, do you have anything you wanted to add?
My flush in one of the bathrooms is, it's corroded. And I scrubbed it and I can't seem to get whatever is on it off, out of it.
Bruce, did you happen to look at the toilet?
I did, and they do have a lot of corrosion in the tanks and going into the bowls part of it. I had in the estimate to replace the innards. I didn't have any estimate to replace the toilet. I can get that to Anthony in the morning.
Okay. So we should maybe, well, I guess we don't have the toilet on this one, so if we want to, well, what do you guys think?
Need to check with the state anyway, so let's do this contingent part of it for now and actually have Anthony talk to the state about the toilet too, because I don't know if they're going to replace fixtures that are functioning. Obviously a toilet bowl's made out of not metal, it's porcelain, so.
Yeah,
Can we see, Bruce, can you replace the innards as you've estimated and check to see if that is working properly? And, if it isn't, then I guess come back to us and we'll try to figure out what goes from there.
Black stuff floating in it.
Yeah, I can, yeah, I definitely can do that. And I'll definitely get a price for Anthony on the toilet tomorrow. I mean, I took quite a few pictures. Did you send the pictures to the board, Anthony, or?
I did not.
So there is pictures if you guys need them.
that would be good.
Okay, I'll forward those along. Yeah, they show quite a bit of corrosion on everything that Bruce is suggesting be replaced.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion on the floor. Was there a second on that?
Yes.
Barbara seconded, I thought so. All right, is there any more discussion? All right, seeing none. Ricky,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes,
All right, 5 yeses, and we're taking that money out of the salt well remediation fund that we set up, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, just making sure the state's gonna do their part. I mean, they're guilty for this whole deal more than the town of Belgrade, whether people know this or not.
Oh, believe me, I chatted about that the other night too, Ricky.
Well, I
I
know.
was
and
like,
that
you're
really
probably
irks
there
me.
for 4 hours.
I know.
If I shall, the water breaks.
I threw down a little bit.
Well,
All right, next up, we have the consideration of appointing a road commissioner. We'll take a motion to open that item.
So be it.
second,
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so 2 people submitted applications for the road commissioner. A third person contacted us through Indeed but did not fill out the application. Of the 2 applicants, only one, Jason Stevens, had any experience related to roads and construction. The Committee of Selectmen Dameron, Fire Chief Dan McKenzie, Road Committee Member Jack Sutton, and Anthony Wilson have been impressed with Mr. Stevens' work this past year and are confident that he will continue to serve the town well. That committee recommends Jason Stevens' appointment to the post.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
So-
second it.
Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. Oh, okay, Ricky, what's your pleasure?
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes,
Barbara?
Yes,
All right, 5 yeses. Welcome, Jason.
thank you, Jason.
Welcome to continuing doing what you've been doing in the interim. Now it's official, and thank you for giving us a chance to kind of work through the process and make sure that we're doing this change legally, crossing all the Ts, dotting all the Is.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have the discussion and consideration of a solar net energy billing proposal. We'll take a motion to open that item.
so moved.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That item is open for discussion. So Anthony, once again, do you want to pop in?
Certainly. So on May 5th, I received the contract from Titan Energy and I immediately forwarded it to you guys. I had some questions just about a few points on it and sent those to you and to Titan. And they sent back the contract that you have in your packet. And just as a reminder, this contract is for a 3-year rolling term that the select board would ratify on an annual basis. It does also have a 90-day out clause. So if at any point we decided we wanted out of it, we would just have to give 90 days notice. There's no cost of this contract to the town. And again, just as a reminder, we'd be purchasing credits that would then be applied to our electric bills at a savings of about 15% per month. And for us, that's somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. So I have 2 options, at least the way I see it tonight, if you're interested in this. And that is you could either approve the contract tonight, or if you would like to have the town's attorney review it, we could send it to the town attorney for his review.
Okay. Matt, on the bottom of the first page under the consumer disclosure form, the very last line says you may cancel this contract. If you cancel this contract, a fee may apply. Does that mean if we cancel the contract and we don't give a 90-day notice?
They would have that option, I would think, to do that. I can't see why there wouldn't, why you couldn't, send it 90-day notice. But if that did happen, I am very confident we could, advocate on your behalf, as we have several times in the past in multiple municipalities.
Yeah, well, it just, it seems to be like a discordance, like there's a 90-day out and then it says you may cancel this, but if you do, a fee may apply.
Well, that's within the, I imagine that they're saying if you weren't to do it in 90 days.
Okay, so if we were like, we're done with you tomorrow.
But it doesn't say that. So that's one thing we'd want to adjust on that contract.
You
to
want
make
to
sure
redline that? Okay.
Yeah, would have to, as long as it says, you have to give a 90-day notice or a fee may apply, I have no problem with it, but.
Right. And then the only other question that I had, Matt, going through it was, when we get to item number 9, it says left blank intentionally. So what does that mean? Why is that even in there? I was like, I get that when I get like my insurance statement and it says this page is left blank intentionally for privacy purposes, but I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean something else could be filled in there?
So I think, Melanie, in those instances, this is, as you will recall, a template contract. And if there was a portion of that didn't apply to, what our agreement was going to be, rather than renumbering all the subsequent clauses, they just take that out and leave it intentionally blank.
Yeah, it's
I can
typically
verify
on
that and have it
typically when I
structured.
get manuals, fire system manuals, you may find pages when they do revisions and just leave a place and says left blank intentionally.
Okay, it was the first time I'd seen that, except like I say, when I get something in the mail and I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, what is that?
I
But
made a
that-
note and we'll just have it, if you prefer to have it struck, I think it's, exactly what they said, the contract was modified, and they left it blank intentionally, so there wasn't a gap, but I made
If
a
we can
note.
just if we can just verify it, it's okay to leave it there. We
Absolutely,
just
yeah.
need to verify it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because item 11 talks about the early termination of the contract, but
Right,
that in a sense contradicts the item that Melanie brought up. So I think we would
Right.
need to be clear on this.
all right, and then I just want to be sure that I'm clear. So on the very last page, we have the subscriber agreement, attachment A.
yeah.
The allocations of credits is 90% at each location.
Mhm.
What's the other 10%?
It's the headroom that you allocate. We don't recommend allocating 100% of everything because it's a buffer.
Okay, and we would be able to shift, because Matt, I'm sure, but if you've been here for part of our meetings, the public water supply system that is in the planning stages at this point,
Mhm.
we can shift at some point where we're allocating the credits, correct? Because,
100% absolute. Yes.
okay, because
You
that's
can
going to
move
be,
it around within the allocation.
now, if it's not already listed on this allocation, because right now we have 10 spots, can we add an 11th spot there?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. And you could buy more credits if you wanted to do that as well. And yes, to answer your question, yes. I don't want, I think we could even, you have this contract is very unique in the sense you have an extraordinary amount of flexibility
Okay.
with it. And that was, that was the request and that's what we delivered ultimately. So you have no issue as far as moving credits around of the ones you allocated to any account that you want, and it doesn't have to be on there. So if you built a new building and you wanted to and enclosed another one, you could just move them right over. And we facilitate all that for you. We're here to support you for the life of 20 years.
okay. Because I think that one's going to be an electricity sucker.
Okay, well, that's good.
So good for somebody, but I was like, well, we should probably make sure that we can do that. Does anyone else have any questions for Matt? All right, seeing none. And is the board's pleasure, are we comfortable signing the contract with those couple of changes made? Or do we want the changes made and then we want the town attorney to review it? Barbara, what are
I would
your
think-
thoughts? Oh, sorry, Rick.
I mean, it seems pretty straightforward to me. I don't know at what level we generally send things to the attorney. I don't know that it's necessary, but I don't, I don't want to be the last word on it, not being an attorney.
All right, Ricky, what are your thoughts?
I think I'd like to see it go to the attorney just to make sure everything's up. It's, this is for the whole town. This isn't just for our spot.
Right.
Just like to see, make sure we're all on the right page.
Another set of legal eyes looking at it too.
Yes.
All right, Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably send it there, but I mean, they may be able to have one of their paralegals look at it rather than charging us the full attorney fee.
I would hope. It's not, it's a real boilerplate, but your comfort dictates all and I will facilitate anything you desire, so.
Okay, Ernie, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's always better to be safe than sorry. I guess, if there's anybody that would know if there's a pitfall in this, it would be a legal mind. So, if it's a regenerating contract and just having it looked at once, but potentially if it's the same contract that regenerates over time, then, this one time will be enough to clear it for, quite a while. So I guess I'd be in favor of having it reviewed.
Okay, and Matt, there was a little bit of a time frame that we were up against with this, correct? Like feeling like we needed to do something sooner rather than later?
Inventory is winding down without a doubt. And we're very, very, cognizant. I've been a salesperson for a long time, and I don't look at myself as a salesperson anymore.
Just that you're a
Sales.
consultant.
It's really not a sales organization. But so what I'm referring to is, manufactured urgency. There is just urgency here. It's real because the program's incredibly lucrative and very successful. So that's what I'll say. I don't think, as long as we can turn it around quickly, you got to do what you're comfortable with. That's what I would consult toward, So if it goes to the attorney, please turn it around quickly.
So I will say this about Bernstein Shores, they are very responsive and they usually turn things around pretty quickly. And this is
a great firm. I know people that work there. So
yeah, and so it doesn't appear to be a heavy lift. So I mean, frankly, Matt, as soon as you can get me the revised contract with the changes that the board has mentioned tonight, I can get it to Bernstein Shores the same day.
What I'd like to do, if I can, is make a motion we accept that with the verification of the questions and the approval of the attorney. That way, once it comes back, if we have accepted it this way, Anthony can get it sent right out with, so chasing us down.
Great idea.
I'll second that. That's kind of what I was going to say. It's in the attorney's hands. I think it's pretty much cut and dried situation.
And then we don't have to wait until June to do something if we can do something sooner rather than later.
Right.
All right, so moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All right, seeing none. Barbara?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
All right, 5 yeses. All right, thank you, Matt. Thank you for your help with this.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You as well.
Here we go. Bye-bye.
All right, next up, we have new business. And the first item is the consideration of a policy regarding the waiving of initial inspections of septic systems. I will take a motion to open that.
Obey it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That item is open. Gary, I was hoping you were joining us.
So what happens is DHS said that if you're an approved contractor through their program, then you don't have to, you don't have to have the first inspection. You just have the second one.
And then the question was, I thought that Ricky had that when they looked into it, that there weren't any classes available that you could get into.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Is that what Ricky found?
Yeah. We couldn't find any to get into until next fall. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can still, yeah.
And it's not a big deal. I mean, if you call me and say, I've got your septic system all scarified, I'll run out and look at it. It's not a huge deal. It's just one step in the making that you could eliminate.
So even if stuff isn't available until fall, because it says here that Mr. Lawson offered to respond to contractors about how they could earn the certification.
Mm-hmm.
So would he be our contact person, Anthony, where contractors could reach out to him individually?
Yeah, so I'd be happy for any contractors who are interested, and maybe we could just sort of circulate an email around to the contractors that Gary and perhaps Rick knows, just to provide Mr. Lawson's contact information, because he offered to answer any questions and help any contractor that wants to become certified. So, and one thing about this, I know there were some concerns about the potential for an unscrupulous contractor not really doing a good job. They still have to ask the local plumbing inspector, Gary, for permission to waive the first inspection. So if Gary's not comfortable with that contractor, he can say, you know what, I think I'd like to run by and check it out anyway.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, so there is a little protection there. And one point that Gary made that I thought was a very good point as we were discussing this was it's not likely that an unscrupulous contractor is going to earn that certification from Health and Human Services and from the DEP. So I think that provides another potential safeguard.
Can I ask one other question? Is there a cost to the contractor to earn this certification?
I don't think there is. No, I don't think there is.
Okay.
Ricky might be able to tell you that, but I don't think there is.
I can't remember. I think my sister told me there was, but I don't, but there is for a lot of these classes.
Well, if it is, it's probably pretty minimal.
Like $75 or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think there was any, but it could be minimal.
I could be wrong on this. We've looked at several other ones that,
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we might want to do as part of this policy, if we decide to do this, is actually have a written policy and just make it known that randomly Gary may go out and inspect on the first one. Just it keeps everybody honest because they won't know which one he might pick to go out and look at.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And you know, I know all the local contractors in town and I know that they know what they're doing. I know Ricky does. I know Jason does. I know David does. I know Kevin Hawes does. So truthfully, it's not a huge deal. It's not a big deal.
Eric can tell the minute he walks onto the property whether people are doing it right or wrong. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. You're the only one that's a little sketchy.
Dude, I didn't think I'd get caught.
I'm just kidding you.
I'll make a motion. We go ahead and approve this and get it started and set up so that people can start going through the training if they want to.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So Melanie's computer chose an inopportune time to restart. So Mr. Vice Chair, I think you're on.
Hey, I guess I gotta we'll take a vote on this, I guess. Start off with, oh, she's back. Well, we'll take a vote. Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
You were muted, Barbara.
Sorry, yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Melanie? Are you on yet? Just wave your hand.
You're still muted.
Okay, 5-0. Now we're back to the chair.
Yes, my computer was like, I'm going to restart right now. I was like, great. All right, so next up we have the discussion and consideration of RFPs for fuel, propane, and off-road diesel. I'll take a motion to open that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I can't see everyone on this. Not really sure how to do that. So Ricky, I'm just gonna go one by one and have everybody raise their hand.
Yep.
All right, Ricky and Melanie. And let's see. There's Dan. Barbara,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Ernie.
Yep.
All right, so that item is open for discussion. And Anthony, do you want to lead this one as well?
Yeah, and so this is pretty self-explanatory. Usually our RFPs are for 3-year contracts, but because of how gas and oil prices ebb and flow, this contract would be for 1 year. And just so you guys know, we're also participating in a cooperative bidding effort with RSU 18 when it comes to propane and heating oil. They should get their results back on May 26. Hopefully that'll yield some economy of scale, but by going out with our own RFP, we have an opportunity to choose whichever the process yields the best price.
Okay, now considering the volatile nature, would it not be in our best interest to do a 3-year contract and ride this out if possible?
Well, I think the concern is that what if we lock in right now when oil and gas prices are pretty high, and then they plummet, in the coming months or years.
Now, well, usually, like when I lock in my propane price, what I get is the price, but if the price comes in below what it is I pay, then they honor that price.
That sounds like a great idea if they'll do that. I hadn't thought about that. So
What's the rest of the board think
I
on
guess,
that?
if I remember right, we did this with a 3-year contract when energy was quite high. And we didn't get the break. We had to use what we applied for. And it wasn't a good deal. I think the 1-year deal is the way to go, but that's my personal thing.
All right, well, that's what I'm asking. Does anybody else on the board have something they'd like to put in on that?
I'm comfortable with the 1-year deal.
Yeah, me too. I think if the market's so volatile at this moment for various reasons, I mean, simply a hack of a pipeline can, in a different part of the country, can change prices in this part of the country, certainly in that part of the country. And, you know, that was something was really unseen, unprepared for. It never happened before, to my knowledge. And so I think 1 year, you know, just go if you can get a cap price and have them honor a lower price if the market allows it. That's great. If you can work that into the contract, it's certainly worth asking about. I'm not sure that is prevalent all the time, but.
And I do believe just for comparison's sake, the school district does go out for bids on an annual basis.
All right, do we want to take them separately? Are we looking for a proposal for all of them?
Oh, it's an RFP for all three. So so we would anticipate a vendor giving us a price on all three commodities.
Okay.
Make a motion if you want me to do a 1-year contract. Help an RFP for 1-year contract on all of them.
Do we have something in this contract before we vote on it, saying that we may not accept any of the bids if we end up going with the school?
Let me see here. We usually do have that in here, Dan, but let me scan this real quick. It doesn't immediately come to mind. Yes. So in the third paragraph, it does say the select board reserves the right to reject any and all bids with the best interest of the town in mind.
All right, I'll second Ricky's motion.
All right, is there any more discussion? All right, seeing none. Ernie,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
All right, 5 yeses. All right, next up, we have the discussion and consideration of RFPs for electrical repair and maintenance and the propane generator repair and maintenance. Take a motion.
So moved.
Yep.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. All those in favor? All right, that item is open for discussion.
So this would be for a 3-year contract in this instance, sort of like our plumbing contract with Bob Plummer. And Barbara did catch a couple of typos in there that I've already corrected, at least in my copy, before we send out, assuming you guys approve this.
All right, and now on these, it says like they expired some years ago. It doesn't feel like that long ago that we were doing this. Do we have an idea of the expiration?
Mary, are you there? Do you recall what the expiration date on this was?
Yes, so I am here, Anthony, and it expired at the same time that Bruce Galushis did in 2019. And so for some reason, this RFP did not go out for electrical. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. And so Mary has now created a system to ensure that we're on top of these RFPs as they are expiring. So I feel a lot more comfortable with the system that she's put in place to make sure these things don't fall through the cracks.
I guess,
Oh, Mary.
Thank you.
didn't we have I'm thinking we have a mechanism in there that we could just honor the contract again. I thought there was something written in the last one that we did, so that we didn't have to put it out for bid every time,
So,
Anybody?
Ricky, I think what it was is it's a 3-year contract and then you can renew up to 5 years. I think that's how you guys did it, but I can't.
That's what,
you know.
it's kind of what I was thinking. There was something so that we didn't have to do that.
But the,
Yeah,
con-
what-
You're shaking her head no.
but the contract didn't renew. There was no renewal done.
So
So
we missed it in 2019.
missed it.
I understand that didn't happen, but wasn't there a mechanism in there so that we could renew it without going out for bid?
I would have to go back and look at that contract with our current electrician, but I didn't see anything in there.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
We talked about a contract that we did last year when I got back on the board, that we asked for a provision at the end where you could renew on a yearly basis. And I don't remember which one it was, but we ought to really put it on all these contracts if we can, people are going to stick to the same price.
Absolutely.
I'm good with that. And so what we can do is we can add something to this RFP to have, and it depends upon what the board's comfortable with. Or would you be comfortable with a 3-year renewal that is agreeable to both parties?
Yes.
Yes.
Dan,
And you're kind of shaking your head.
Yeah, because with the price of everything being volatile, you may want to stick to a year renewal at a time. And basically say you could renew it for a year, almost like we're doing with the net energy, sticking to that price every year. And then if they decide it's time for prices to go up, then we have to put it out for bid again.
Folks, what's your feelings on that?
Who'd you ask, Ricky?
I asked Bruce.
I mean, the 3 years fine, and the 1 year, I mean, 'cause that's how, I know that's how we do like the waste management contract, is it's a 3-year and then they consistently for a 1 year up to 5 years. And then it was, unless there's a price increase, which their contract is written right in every July, there's the percentage of an increase and it goes off the Boston market. But yeah, I think that would be fine as long as you get the initial 3-year and then the option for, year 4 and year 5. And then I think at year 5, you should go up to RFP again. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Does anybody else weigh in?
Yeah, I had a question. So like with the oil and gas RFP, that's a material that's very volatile due to market conditions. But for this RFP, for the repair and maintenance of electrical systems and propane generators, it's largely labor that we're talking about. And if a firm wants to put a bid in for a 3-year term at a fixed labor rate that they're comfortable with, that's something that potentially isn't as volatile as a material, such as oil and gas. So if a company wants to charge X amount of labor for 3 years and they're comfortable with it, then, that's kind of, as Bruce said, that's sort of how waste management does it. For 3 years, they're at a certain rate and then they renegotiate after that. Or there's built-in increases in the contract per year that you agree to ahead of time, whatever the contract is, however it's set up to be agreed to. That's the way it's could be done.
I think that's what we were saying, Ernie. We put it out for a 3-year contract at a fixed price. And then at the 4th year, we'd ask them if they're going to maintain that same price and we can renew it. And then after the next year, we'd do it one more time if they want to keep their same price. And then at the 5th year, then we'd put it out for bid again.
Yeah, sure, okay.
All right, so is that the motion on the floor?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Ricky,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes,
Ernie,
Yes,
Dan?
Yes.
5 yeses. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have the consideration of attesting the receipt of the warrant and notice of election of the RSU 18 budget validation referendum. We'll take a motion.
So be it.
second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, that item is open for discussion. All right, so essentially that means that we all have to swing by the town office and sign in person saying that we're putting these forward, correct?
Correct.
Yes. I had a
Preferably-
question. Is anybody planning to go to the meeting on Thursday night? Thursday night? The RSU 18 budget validation
I'll be
meeting?
out of state.
And it's on my agenda here. I could go. I wonder what good would it do for me to go? If I suppose I could slam my shoe on the table and do a little dance, but I'm not sure it's going to make a difference in the budget, but I guess I can register my opposition or my determination that they keep things as flat as possible from here on out. And you can all wish me luck.
Yeah, you can if you want, but I don't think it's gonna make a whole lot of difference.
All right.
I've been to many of them and it's,
Yeah, I have to. So I guess it's good to put it, to put an appearance in so that they don't forget. We know what's going on, but we'll see.
All right, so do we need to act on this or do we just, if everyone can swing by the town office, and you need it done sooner rather than later, right, Mary?
Right, and preferably not tomorrow. I won't be in the office and I didn't leave my folder out. So Thursday or Friday, if people could swing by, just so we could get them up in time for the posting, that'd be appreciated.
Is there anybody, that's my only day off, so sometimes it's tricky
Uh-oh.
to try to come in
So-
Thursday.
So maybe I could catch you this weekend, Melanie.
Okay, or I can try to remember if I'm out of work at 6 on Thursday to try to pop over Thursday night. Will you be there Thursday night or would it be available?
Thursday night, I'll be up at the school budget. But I will leave it there with Sheila and I'll leave tabs on it because there are multiple pages to be signed.
Okay. I'll try to get in there Thursday night when I get out of work.
Oh, great, thank you.
So Mary, is there a motion that is needed tonight, Mary?
Not really, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we're not voting on anything. It's just an affirmation that you have received the notice of the warrant, and that it will be placed on the school warrant, for June 8th. Okay.
Okay. All right, next up on the agenda, then, we have the discussion and consideration of amending the agreement with the Friends of the Belgrade Lakes Village. Take a motion.
I'll make
I'll make that motion.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That item is open for discussion. All right, Anthony, do you want to do this or do you want me to have Diane lead?
I'm happy to let Diane lead.
Okay, looks like you have the floor, Diane.
All right, thank you, guys. We've talked about this before. I'm not gonna continue and bring up the whole item about, the cost savings that the pedestrian lights have made and why we asked to have the town take over the cost of the pedestrian lighting. I think I just kind of wanted to talk about the amendment itself and how it all came about. Ricky, I think, is maybe the only guy that was there from the start, much like myself. We must be really old, Ricky. I think what I just wanted to say is that I think this is unprecedented territory. I mean, Maine DOT said from the very beginning, they've never had a nonprofit that actually raised funds and put amenities in a road project. It was usually the municipality, the town or whatever. And in so doing, it was them, if you remember, that suggested that this agreement be done. So I feel like we were being directed and herded by them. And I think we all entered into it in good faith moving forward. You know, and I think that the Friends just wanted to make sure that, you know, we had done everything that the select board wanted so that we could continue to raise funds for this project that we thought everyone would be really happy with when we got done. And I hope, I think it is a great project. But it's a very much apparent that a new contract, agreement, whatever document needs to be written up and amended and ratified by a town vote. And we just hope that we can work with the select board. And I think mostly tonight, we were hoping that we would get some discussion, you know, to see where the select board stood on this issue and how we move forward. You know, we will admit that as novices in 2016, again, we just, you know, we're thankful that the select board had told us that we could raise funds to try to do these enhancements of brick sidewalks and a pedestrian lighting system. We didn't do any due diligence on this contract and didn't look into it. I mean, I think there was lots of discussions, as again, I hope Ricky will attest to, about what repairs and maintenance existed and what they meant. And maybe this contract didn't necessarily, you know, lay those technicalities out as best as we all hope that they should. So the Friends are going to consult a municipal lawyer, and so as to help us work on getting some sort of a new document to take as a warrant article. As I said, we want to work with the select board. We think there's other projects that are to be done. You know, it was from the Friends' point of view that we would do these brick sidewalks and pedestrian lighting, and that parking and a comfort station, bathroom, restroom, whatever you wanted to call it, was also part of our amenities list that we were hoping to do. And those are all things that we hope we can move forward with support and help and with the town. And so again, I think I wanted to just, you know, ask the select board if they could, you know, comment on what the thinking and thought process is with this and how we move forward. And, you know, again, I think there are other members of my organization out there that may want to speak if I've missed something. But as I said, you know, we're happy to make whatever revisions or amendments that we need to move forward and work together.
All right. Well, and I want to be sure, Diane, and that everyone who's here from the Friends understands that I felt I was getting a little bit of, I guess, back chat that sort of sounded like I was being unreasonable by saying that this agreement had been voted on by the voters and that we could not just amend the agreement. And I want to be clear with everyone, and I had Anthony forward to you folks that I had sent that to MMA's legal team for an opinion, because I was pretty sure that once that this agreement was what was reflected in that warrant that the whole town voted on, and that any amendment we couldn't just do as the select board. And I will say in the last newsletter, it was changed a little bit. And we are doing like a redaction, because in the select board highlights, I had noted this because I want to keep bringing it to the forefront that people know that we are discussing this. But when it was put together, the editor for the newsletter, when I said that it had to go before the legislative body, she in her mind thought that meant the select board. So then what went out to the town in the newsletter was that the select board could amend this agreement. And I called her and said, no, we can't. So, you know, it's not because I don't want for us to figure this out moving forward. It's that we can't just overturn something that the legislative body agreed upon without putting something forward that they vote on. So when I did say to Anthony, if there's something in November, I don't know if that's something that we can move forward in November or if this has to wait until March. And I know one of the pressing things is sidewalk winter maintenance and what all that entails. Does it involve purchasing more equipment? Does that involve stretching the maintenance crew to do something that, you know, that they haven't been charged to do before? There's a whole lot of moving parts there that benefits one section of town. And I know the philosophy is that it really benefits a broader segment, but we have to be cautious about balancing all of that. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows the reason I went to the MMA was because I wanted legal clarification. And we did get it. So that's the part that we're at now, is not that an amendment can't be done. It's that we craft an amendment and then we move it forward to the legislative body, either in November or March, whichever we can do.
Yeah, I think we're very amenable to that. Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else want to chat on this?
Melanie, I think at least from the perspective I have is, you know, we asked that because this is such a savings that, and we expected it would be expense, that we asked that the cost of the lighting in the village be taken over by the town. And it seemed like the select board was agreeable. It did get put in the budget in the event that it was approved. So I think there's that one piece that, you know, we need to go through the technicality of getting it past the vote or passed by the voters. And then the other piece is, in all of our discussions of this, we never intended, or it was never intended, that the Friends were responsible for snow removal. And, you know, that just was never a piece. And we would just like to have that clarified. And I think probably Ricky said in one of the meetings, you know, that wasn't one of the things we discussed. That was never a piece of it. And perhaps it's the expansion of the word maintenance. We were talking about who's going to fix the brick sidewalks that people were concerned were going to break apart. And that's maybe the wording got wrong. But we just would like to get those 2 points clarified so we can put a period here and then move forward to the next project.
So I wasn't there for that middle piece. I do remember some conversations with Ricky that preceded it. And I think one of his things was about snow removal and how that was going to affect the bricks. And it was a little bit more there, Ricky, if you want to weigh in. That was the brick sidewalks.
I was afraid you was gonna ask it.
Sorry.
That was one of the discussions that was, when this whole deal started, was the sidewalks, how they want to take care of it. And we pretty much decided as a board that we wasn't going to deal with the sidewalks at all, and for winter maintenance. And all of a sudden, then it's come up about following them and taking care of them. You know, I've looked at them many times going by there, and I'm saying, boy, I don't want anything to do with those sidewalks. You're going to destroy people's land, for one thing. You're going to put snow on it. Can you imagine that? People walk on your land now and you get in trouble, but you're going to put the snow on it. And on that state road, you're going to have to clean that. I don't even know how many times a day. So you got to really take a hard look at that one.
All right, Diane, you had your hand up and then it looks like it's down again.
Oh, no, I would love to speak again. Yeah. I mean, I remember that discussion with Ricky too, but I think what I always revert back to is that the discussion about snow removal of the sidewalks was always something that the town knew was going to happen. That was part of what, Maine DOT said. So it didn't matter what the surface was, snow removal was what the town had to deal with. And I understand, and I heard, and I get, we're gonna not deal with that right now. And again, it wasn't, the Friends necessarily that asked to talk about snow removal of this brick sidewalks. There are residents that are asking that. And if the town wants to continue to say, no, we're not gonna do that, I think that's fine too. But to say all of a sudden roll it into that the Friends need to pay for that, as I said, that snow removal of sidewalks was something that Maine DOT had always said the town was going to have to take care of, and it didn't matter what the surface was.
Now, it seems like the conversations that I've been part of, and I know I was out for a little bit on the board, but that it wasn't necessarily that if there was snow removal, it wasn't necessarily going to be a town expense. Anthony, you were going to look at, I believe it was Mount Vernon, to see how they handled it. Was that? Somebody had mentioned at one of the meetings that we talked about it, that Mount Vernon.
Reed Field.
Was it Reed Field?
Yeah.
I thought it was Mount
Yeah.
Vernon. Somebody.
Yeah,
had-
Oh, it was Reed Field.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did talk with the town manager there, and it just really takes a big investment in capital equipment. I think maybe like Ricky has said once before, I mean, you've got to buy special equipment in order to plow those sidewalks, and the fact that ours are brick, it's sort of a twofold process where you've got to get sort of the surface layer off. And then you come along with something that has a rubber blade on it, so that so when it hits the brick, it's not destroying the brick. So it would just, I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars worth of in capital investment in order to procure the equipment necessary for that sort of effort.
Well, and then you also have, then once you clear it, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it get cleared with the rubber blades, but I have. And then you have to follow up with some sort of an ice melt treatment, because there is going to be residue left behind. And then who's liable if someone slips on the sidewalk?
Well, and I did talk with the MMA about that. So the town legally has a responsibility to clear the sidewalks, but that's never enforced. But we do not have any liability if the sidewalks do or don't get cleared. And that's just something that state law protects municipalities against.
Not what we're here for tonight. I mean, to talk about clearing the sidewalks, but we had to talk about taking over paying the light bill. I guess that's my question. I think, if we're gonna do this, let's put it into a package. Let the taxpayers decide what they want to do. And then done.
Kathy? Oh, Kathy, you're muted. Kathy?
Okay,
There you go.
thank you, thank you. I would just like to say that I don't understand why the Friends has to even be asking, but obviously they do need to be asking, why the Friends would possibly be responsible for snow removal expenses. Before the sidewalks were redone, there was never any work done there. If once the sidewalks were done by Maine DOT, if it had been the macadam instead of the bricks, it would be the town's issue. The fact that it's bricks instead of macadam seems like it's a punitive measure to even be talking about the Friends having a responsibility for this. I think the town needs to say, This is a wonderful thing that's been done for the town. Sidewalks are our issue, and whether we choose to maintain them or not, it's our issue. It's not the Friends' responsibility. And all the Friends are asking tonight is to get rid of this issue. Say something. Select board, take responsibility for this, which is a town issue.
Did the town provide snow removal on the sidewalks prior to it being redone? No. I didn't think so.
I have
When
a
it-
few things to say.
Okay, and then Dan, I think you did as well. Okay,
I was involved in this discussion way back when, and the prior to the sidewalks, when we were contemplating a parking ordinance, there was some lines in that ordinance that had to do with the sidewalks, the eventual sidewalks at that point, because the project hadn't been finished, and that whole thing was tabled to be discussed after the sidewalks were in and operational, and we could have more of a physical idea of what we're looking at here in terms of what was feasible and what wasn't feasible. I'm of the mind that the contract or the agreement that was signed, was the spirit of it was that it was just a maintenance account to take care of, eventual breakdown of bricks perhaps, or anything that needed to be redone due to wear and tear of the bricks, so to speak. I never envisioned in my mind that the lighting was to be paid for by the electrical lighting itself was operational costs were to be paid for by the Friends. I think it was just sort of a oversight that this potential amendment that Diane was speaking about will record and change or correct. And I think it's wise for them to sort of put some wording in there that states that the original intent of the account was for overall longevity repairs, not winter maintenance. The discussion that we could have as a town about whether to develop a plan, whether the town does it itself with its own equipment, its own staffing to clear the sidewalks, or the town enters into some sort of a RFP for a contractor of some sort that would have the equipment that would do the clearing of the sidewalks, much like we do with the Warren Brothers for the roads. We could have that discussion. We could consider that RFP or warrant article to attract somebody to that would do that particular job if we wanted to down the line. But I think the discussion right now is just specific to the agreement, the changes that Diane articulated, and I think we should kind of stick to that and move forward with it. I am in favor of the town taking over the lighting costs because of the savings that the town accrued by removing pole lights that now the street lights here, the sidewalk lights illuminate the street with. So, it's kind of it's all LED. So the costs, I think, are more or less a wash compared to what we were paying before on with the other lights and on the poles. That's my 2 cents worth.
all right, Dan.
Yeah, I was involved in the beginning with this planning stage. I think it was Mike Barrett and I used to go down to the DOT meetings down to the Lakes Resource Center. When they were talking about sidewalks then, the town didn't want to be responsible for cleaning sidewalks. DOT said that, yes, the town is supposed to do it. And we made it pretty clear then that we had no desire to clean sidewalks in the winter unless somebody came in and forced us to do it. When it comes to the lights, a lot of there was a lot of pushback from throughout the town for a bunch of upgrades. And I know that's why the business, Friends of the Business or Friends of the Village, started raising money to upgrade and put in the sidewalks and the street lights. I don't have a problem with going out to the voters and asking if we can take over the power bill now and change the contract. That's fine. The cleaning of the sidewalks, we need to just get off that subject tonight, because that was never really brought up for them to ever do that. They did talk about if they were going to put in brick, having to maybe raise money to replace some brick if stuff got broken once in a while. But that was all I ever remember hearing.
All right. Does anybody else want to weigh in?
Would support what Dan just said.
So Melanie?
Yes.
And I think we're in agreement with what Dan said, is it was never the intent that we would, that fund, that $10,000 would be used for snow removal. So basically what our amendment to the agreement, if that's the appropriate term I should be using, would say the town, basically, the town would take over the lighting and clarify the point so that a future select board doesn't come back and again say maintenance means snow removal. That we clarify that the Friends are not responsible for snow removal of the sidewalk. And those 2 points, we just can clarify it and put a period at the end of the sentence and then move on to whatever we move on from there. And I guess I would ask, does the select board support that clarification?
Yeah, I would support it. I think that just a slight change in wording to items 3 and 4 would make that pretty clear. I don't know if you've worked on specific wording, but isn't that what you're talking about, of making a change in items 3 and 4?
Yes, and the fact that it's the question of the word maintenance. Does maintenance mean snow removal? And we always intended that maintenance meant repair of the facility, not the day-to-day operational cleaning. So if that gets restated, and that's why we wanted to go to a municipal attorney who will state it clearly so that it's not, we need to be done with this part of the project and move on to a next one and work together to solve the next piece that we want to work on. And that's all we're asking for, is to clarify that.
Well, on item 4, I mean, I think it's as simple as saying ongoing repair, operation, maintenance of the brick sidewalks, excluding snow removal.
Right.
I mean, that's all you got to do is add that language.
And also in item 3,
Yes.
including but not limited to, and then excluding. It might need to be in both places.
Yes, I mean, you'd have to go to item 3 on
Excluding.
the lighting and remove paying for the lighting. But I believe the original discussion.
Oh, that's the original. Yeah, that's done.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
done. You're right. It's just number 4.
But I know that if they want to change it to exclude the cost of the electricity, but I think the original agreement and the original plan was if something got broken, they were going to raise funds to repair it. Because otherwise the town might just turn around and go, yep, we don't need that light anymore.
Right. But there is a $10,000 fund that was set up. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so are we looking for someone to craft an amended article and then bring that back to the board? What's up? And were you folks saying you were going to consult a municipal attorney to help with that amendment?
Yes, if I can speak, Melanie, most definitely, we are willing to take on that expense through the Friends. And again, you know, obviously it comes back to you folks and whether you have your attorney or somebody look at it. But yeah, you know, we wanted to make sure that we did our part on this, on the funding for this, the expense for this.
So, and can I just ask if maintenance of them does not include, would not include winter maintenance? And then at some point in time, there's gonna be weeds and stuff that poke up through the sidewalks, through the brick sidewalk at some point in time. So would it not include winter maintenance and summer maintenance? And is there something else with how to maintain the brick? Like, do they have to be, like my tile floor, does it have to be resealed every so often? And is that considered routine maintenance? Like, anybody know?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, there is maintenance you have to do, but I don't think the town's willing to do the maintenance on them. That was the original agreement because the people just didn't want to spend the money down there. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen when it gets to that point.
Well, isn't that what that 10,000, I mean, there is that $10,000 fund.
Right, and if you guys are okay with that being used for that type of maintenance, there's no problem with that. We'll just, the plowing, just the sanding and
Right.
snow blowing just won't get done.
Right. I mean, again, I'm not sure that we thought that, you know, we were going to take care of, you know, grooming it or any of those kinds of things. I think we thought it was, as Carol had said earlier, it was, you know, chipping or who knows what, you know, those kinds of things that can happen to brick. I mean, somebody's snowplow going into somebody else's driveway. I don't know, just wear and tear that happens to brick.
Right.
But then again, that's, you know, something that we either, you know, clarify in this new agreement or something that the select board asks for as to what that fund is going to be used for.
All right, Christine?
The dog might bark, so I apologize for that. But as the local health officer, I was the one that brought it to the committee to have the sidewalks plowed. And at that time, the recommendation from that meeting was that this discussion would be taken to a road committee meeting or a committee that you have. I'm not sure if that's been addressed or done to this point. And where is that?
So the road committee has not yet discussed this.
Falls into their purvey. They should probably at some point.
And we have a meeting scheduled next week, so we can put that on the agenda.
Okay, now I did just look up quickly because I have no idea how to maintain a brick walkway or anything. And what I'm looking up says that it needs to be, you will have to invest in a brick paving, cleaning and sealing every 2 years. Is that? And who would do that? Is that part of the long-term plan? And is that something that has to be done?
To be truthful, we've never heard anything from Maine DOT. I mean, again, as much as they were able to talk to us because this was a, you know, a town event or whatever, that they kind of told us how the brick needed to go in and, you know, that they were doing it according to best practice. There really wasn't a lot of discussion about what happened afterwards.
Okay. So, because I want to make sure, because it is a huge investment that you folks have done down there. So maybe there's a little bit more involved here and maybe we need to look at how do we best maintain them so that you don't, you know, because one of the things is like sand sitting on them, that grit eventually will break down the brick. So we may be looking at more of a project than it looks like at, you know, first glance. So maybe in whatever agreement is crafted, we need to look at long-term maintenance. as well. If that makes sense, Kathy?
I'm getting very concerned with the ongoing issues that are brought up, and I'm beginning to wonder, does that mean that the Friends are going to be responsible for blowing the leaves off and the twigs and all of those things? I feel like we're just adding on here rather than recognizing the wonderful gift that has been given to the town and supporting it and moving forward.
I don't think that's what I was saying, Kathy. I think what I was saying is that if we're looking at the long-term maintenance and the way the previous agreement read was that the town would be responsible for the maintenance as long as there was this, and this. I think we've got to look at it as a whole. And, you know, what's the consideration that we need for the long term? You know, not just winter, not just summer. And you know, what the overall cost involved there would be. I mean, I don't know that the town goes around now blowing leaves and twigs off from anything.
Exactly.
So, but if that's something that should be being done, I mean, and this was just me looking up quickly, how do you maintain a brick pathway? Like, what's the best practice? And these are some of the things that came up when you put sand down on them for traction, that the sand has to come off at a certain point because the grit left on that and people walking on it is going to eventually break down the surface of the brick. It's a porous surface. So,
If I may, I think like the park that was donated in the village with a gazebo, the town took over the maintenance of that park. The voters voted for it. And it seems in this case, to some degree, it's a little different in that the gift of that park was given in the same way. The gift of the brick sidewalks and the lights were given by the Friends. And why wouldn't it potentially fall to the roads committee, say for instance, to or maintenance, depending on how that gets decided, to determine, you know, what maintenance needs to be done, and then who makes then I guess it could be debated who makes the decision to deduct X amount of dollars from that maintenance fund to fund whatever maintenance needs to be done yearly on the sidewalks. And you know, just as it's town staff that does the maintenance, the mowing of the park, they would do the maintenance, you know, whatever minor maintenance in terms of, I don't know if sealing needs to be done, but you know, whatever is determined that needs to be done. There certainly are things that could be done, but there are things I think that are needs and wants that a committee will have to make that decision, and then, you know, make the determination that the funds come from that fund. And that's something that, you know, I think should be tasked to whatever committee it's deemed it should fall into. And then, but for tonight's discussion, basically just to have this group give them the sort of the okay to go ahead and put this amendment together so that, you know, we can debate that at a later date and decide to sign it perhaps if that's warranted and determined. That'd be the next course of action, it seems to me.
all right, so I'm going to take one more thing from Diane, and then I think we've got to move on from this. So we need some direction from the board, I think, as far as pulling together an amendment, bringing it to, I think the road committee is a good one to weigh in on it. Diane?
Yeah, I was going to second kind of what my thought was kind of what Ernie said. I mean, I think this is an asset. This is an asset of the towns, much like their parks. And yes, they do take care of the parks. I see the guys down there all the time cleaning up brush and debris and leaves and whatnot. And so to me, this is just a a huge asset that should be taken care of. And yeah, we're ready to, take direction from you and speak with our attorney and see what we can get together as quickly as possible here. Knowing that we have probably November to go with the town voters.
Do we need to take action on this or just give them the okay to go ahead and put the amendment together for later debate?
I think it's really just discussion and consideration. Does anyone feel like it's an actionable item? Or just,
No, not yet.
and I think that's kind of how I left it with Anthony, that this wasn't, this was, it probably should have come up under old business, but it came in under new business, but that this was something that we need to move forward and figure out and craft however we're going to do this to move forward. And protect the asset, protect the town, and just figure out what we need to do. All right, moving on. So we'll see you folks again. Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Next up on the agenda is the warrant. I will take a motion.
That motion?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Okay, that item is open. Anthony, do you want to do the lead? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's
This is
okay.
warrant number 56 in the amount of $34,311.66. It's a small one.
I say it's the smallest one I've seen for a long time.
It is one of the smallest one.
How much money have we put into the playground equipment up in North Belgrade Community Center? And have we stayed within the budget we talked about?
Yes, sir. We've stayed well under the budget. In fact, we're so far under the budget with the initial purchase that we just purchased a couple of extra pieces for the playground up there, but we're still well under what was budgeted.
Now on the bottom,
I must say, I've seen kids up there all the time playing on it too.
well, and I've seen folks on Facebook saying, do you want to meet us at the playground later? So I think that's perfect. The bottom of page 1 under card member services, we have emergency housing for $770. Is that something that we put on our credit card?
Yes, because what happened is we had some GA clients who were without any housing, and under the rules that are currently in effect with the state in that sort of instance, as the municipality of record, we're required to provide them some emergency housing. We did that for a week. What we did was we put them up in a hotel room in Augusta for a week, and so the easiest way to pay that was just with a credit card. The good news about any GA expenses, we are reimbursed at 70% of what we spent. So we will get back 70% of that total.
Okay. I just was like, GA stuff goes on the credit card?
Yeah, it was an unusual circumstance. A lot of times we're able just to provide a voucher to the vendor, but dealing with a hotel was different than dealing with with an oil company, for instance.
Right. All right, on page 2, check number 21234, background check. Do we have a new employee or was this?
Yeah, we do. We have a seasonal employee in facility maintenance.
Okay. And grass seed for the park, that was down on the bottom of that, 21234.
Mm-hmm.
4298. Is that one specific park? Are we addressing?
That was in the village green where that white pine was taken down, and then the stump was ground, and then we planted some seed there where the stump previously was.
Okay. All right, I'm going to keep moving. I've got a few highlights, and then we'll head up some others. On page 3, top of it, we have COVID clothing. What is COVID clothing?
That is a fire department expense, so that must be PPE.
Oh, that looked like a facilities maintenance, facilities, general supplies and clothing.
Okay, you said that was at the top of page 3?
Yeah, it starts on the bottom of page 2.
Oh, okay.
So it said COVID clothing, and then it's carried forward onto page 3. Because we have others, disposable masks, blah, 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 but that came under facilities, general supplies. You're muted really well, Anthony.
Sorry about that. I'll have to look at the credit card packet, so give me a second because it's the most involved proceeding that we have.
I wasn't sure, if that's those pull-up masks for the folks who work at the transfer station or at our other facilities.
No, it was facility maintenance, so it wouldn't have been at the transfer station. It was on Chris's credit card. Let me see if I can find the receipt for it. So the receipt does not have any detail as far as exactly what the clothing consisted of. So that's something I would just have to follow up and email you guys about tomorrow, exactly what that expense was.
Okay. And then if we follow that page down on page 3, it's so that 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, Village Green signs. So my first thought was that was the sign that we had discussed for a park, putting up one of the park signs like we have in the other ones, but it's actually under recreation.
Yeah,
And
so those are the signs for the craft fairs, plural, that we'll be having throughout the summertime. So Lily had some of the yard signs printed up, and I don't know if there's any in the village green right now, but I know there are some at the Center for All Seasons, and I've asked her to deliver some to the town office as well. It's just to promote the event.
okay, so then the sign for the park isn't on this warrant, am I?
That's correct.
Okay, so then we could add a second sign for the town line marker if we've not ordered the signs yet.
Yeah, Chris was going to take care of that. Whether or not he's ordered it yet or not, I don't know, but I have made a note to myself about a sign, and so we'll look at the space that's available there on the town line coming in from Rome and see which size sign is appropriate.
They're just the post signs that say Belgrade.
And yeah, I know that's the one that we have, I think, coming in from Route 8 from Smithfield. So
yeah,
but we have several different kinds, so we'll take a look and see which one is most appropriate for that.
Those signs for Village Green that they rec ordered, are those just disposable signs, like a campaign sign?
Yes.
$224 is kind of expensive for a sign that's not going to last.
Well, and in addition to that, there are some push cards, Dan. And so we have a supply of those at the town office that we hand out to people to help promote the event. So it's signs and push cards.
All right, I'm going to keep picking, okay?
All right.
Page 5, we have Layton Sign Works, the deer cross and reflect trim.
Yes.
What is that?
So there is a deer crossing on the Dunn Road, and some residents there were afraid that there was going to be a collision. And so Jason Stevens ordered a couple of deer crossing signs for on the Dunn Road. And then the reflective trim is the trim that is around those signs on the lower West Road where the 25-mile-per-hour signs are.
Oh, did we not? We hadn't paid for that already?
We had not.
Okay.
We need about 30 of those deer crossing signs then they're coming down the West Road then.
Well, and we're supposed to be moving that one on the West Road, because remember when the state trooper came to our meeting, he was like, the deer crossing sign is in front of the speed limit sign. So you can't see the speed limit sign because of the deer crossing sign.
I must drive that road so often I don't even see it anymore.
We
So
just
I'll have to take a look.
automatically slow down for the deer there because we know. But after he said it, I was like, wow, it really does block that sign. So I think we had said, we'll get that deer crossing sign moved so you can at least see the sign. But Bruce, did you have something there?
Yeah, on the signs, I believe as a written policy of the town, if somebody requests a sign, they have to pay for that sign. Because I requested a sign and I had to pay for it originally, and then the town takes over maintenance of it. Is that what happened on this signs?
No, I was not aware of that policy, Bruce. So at this point, I don't know that I'd want to go back to the citizen and say, oh, by the way, you owe us this much money. But I will know that now moving forward. And if someone requests a sign, we'll quote them a price.
And I believe it has to be approved by the board.
Does it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had somebody come on, they wanted children at play or something else signs once before.
Okay, I'll go check out the policy.
All right, I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
Page 6, sorry. I think the last few I've had nothing, so this one,
Before you go down any lower, what's shell for building?
Good. I asked the same question, Dan. It's a typo. It should be shelves. So they are shelves for the maintenance garage. Nick and I are working on his spelling.
on page 6, going down through Pine Tree Waste, the Village Green porta potty
Yep.
is more money than the rest of the porta potties.
Because it's a handicap accessible porta potty.
And should we not have a handicapped accessible one at our other locations?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question, Melanie. But while we're on that subject, I will tell you, so obviously this is the first time that we've had a porta potty there, but because we are going to have 6 craft fairs there from May through October, we decided to put a porta potty in there because the last one in October drew a really big crowd. And regardless of whether you use it for one day or the whole month, it's $100. So we just decided to leave it there for the whole month.
We decided?
Well, I was just gonna say that.
Well, when I'm talking about from an administrative standpoint, Dan.
Because adding stuff like that usually comes before the board. Well,
we were going to need to put a porta potty there for the vendors who are going to be there from 10 to 3 o'clock during each of those 6 events. And again, whether we had it there for one day or whether we had it there for the entire month, it was going to be the same cost.
Okay. I just can kind of hear in my head that the shows are costing a lot. We already pay for the Center for All Seasons. Now there's more cost involved for the town to have this at the Village Green. So we want to just be cautious.
Okay. But, and you'll see this in the town manager's report, each one of those events is going to generate at least $2,000 in revenue. So the cost is minimal compared to the revenue that they are going to generate.
And assuming it's not all sunny days, what happens then?
So they're all scheduled for a Sunday. If we don't have it on a Sunday, then we'll have it on some other day, maybe the following week, because we only have one schedule per month.
Okay. All right, one more, page 7, the bottom of it, check number 21259. legal services for Trobe Heisler. What is that?
That's the firm for which Mr. Goodman works.
I'd like to tag on to that briefly. If I may, briefly, out of this little tiny warrant of 30-some thousand dollars, by my calculation, there's $11,470.50 of legal fees from 3 different legal firms. And that's the elephant in the room in this budget. And I'd like Anthony to make, at our next meeting or via email, I'd like to know year to date what this town is paying in legal fees. And because I think it is just going right through the roof. And we've had discussions about the lessons we've learned from the legal dance that we've been doing with Brightside. And we've said, you know, what could we do in the future to keep this from ever happening again? And we could have discussions, we could have arbitration, we could have communication between the parties that need to be discussed. And we're right back into legal. So, you know, I just, we need to pay attention to this, and it will be needed to be accounted for, and it will be in the future. We need to pay attention to it. That's my story.
Okay, Bruce?
And this is another thing, I brought this up to the board during budget time, and I am very concerned about it. As a taxpayer, I'm not a happy camper that I'm paying all this money out for attorney fees. I think as a board, you guys need to take this as a priority to find out why we're paying so much in attorney fees, what we can do to decrease the attorney fees. I mean, we've never had this much in attorney fees. This is, to me, is, you know, I think if more taxpayers knew what we're paying for attorney fees, this is foolish. I mean, it's totally foolish. If it's because stuff is, you know, being done wrong, you know, on shoreline zoning through the planning board or whatever, then maybe we need to get some education for them so they can get things right. I mean, I'm just so appalled at this. I mean, it's been, you know, this is kind of one of my pet peeves. It's every time I look at this warrant and I see attorney fees on it, I am boiling on it. And it's, you know, and I keep bringing it up after every time I see attorney fees, keep bringing it up, and I get the same answers. You guys, you know, yeah, well, we have to pay attorney fees. Yeah, okay. Maybe we do have to pay attorney fees. Why do we have to? And why do we have to pay so much? And I guess that's where I'm going to leave it and see what discussion comes from it at a later date or tonight or whatever. But I just think that we need to be done spending so much money for attorney fees.
Anthony, I will check on that one too, that last one with Heisler, because our understanding, I believe that was supposed to go to Bernstein Sure, and then they were going to invoice the town.
Okay.
So I didn't know that was something separate. All right, does anybody else have anything on the warrant, or did I touch them all? All right, seeing none. Ricky?
Been so long, I took a little nap here, but yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
All right, 5 yeses. All right, next up, we have the town manager report.
Okay, so the first item here involves a citizen who is with us tonight, Mr. Moore. So, Mr. Moore, are you there with us?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, great. So the Moores are interested in purchasing an abandoned right-of-way that sort of juts out from the old location road. And I provided a map as part of your packet to show exactly where that is. We couldn't find any information on when the town discontinued that road, but it's no longer an active road, and the Moores are interested in purchasing that so that they can acquire the acreage necessary to build a second small dwelling on their property on Barnett Way. If this is something the board would like to explore, I think, we would need to do a title search on it and have an appraisal to determine the market value. And obviously, we don't want to spend more money than we might potentially sell it to the Moores for. And so it would be my suggestion that the prospective buyer pay all of the town's cost in this potential transaction.
Before we do that, you may want to, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Well, you might be able to start with MMA. There's a lot of issues with abandoned roads in the state legislature. And there's many times you cannot turn a road over or sell the road. Actually would have to go back to the original owners. So you're going to have to check into it and see what legally can be done.
Wow. Okay. I'll definitely check with MMA on that. And Mary did the research and she couldn't find any information dating back to 1931 on this particular road.
Well, just to give you an example, I had to put a piece of legislation in for a husband and wife out in Fayette. They used to live on a town road. The town discontinued it and said, we don't have to maintain it anymore. You have to maintain it, but we're keeping the public right of way. So now the town also says that anyone who wants to use that road can. And according to this lady, Roberta Manter, she's like the expert in abandoned roads in the whole state. Actually, that's her road. There's a lot of legal issues. They can't get the town to turn over to the road to them because it has to go back to the original owners as part of the property because it was taken originally.
Fun. So I guess we better check with MMA first and see what they can offer for guidance.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Oh, nothing's ever as cut and dry as we think it's gonna be.
No.
So Mr. and Mrs. Moore, I will check with the Maine Municipal Association tomorrow. And once I get a response from them, I will contact you folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thanks for all your
good.
help.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
At the last meeting, the board asked for an update on bank interest and recreation revenue. I provided that in the written report, and I don't know that we necessarily need to go through all that, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. The last thing I wanted to talk about are the town's COVID restrictions, because obviously come Monday, the restrictions that have been in effect statewide are being lifted. And I'd be happy to share my thoughts on what I think that we should do, but I'm also interested in hearing your thoughts. So I don't know how you guys might want that conversation to go. And I asked our health officer, Christine Merkins, to be here as part of this conversation as well. So I'm sorry, Rick, say again.
Let's hear what you think.
Okay. Well, I think all along we've been following the state guidelines. I think we should continue to follow the state guidelines. And I feel a little bit more comfortable about doing that because in the town office, all of our employees have been vaccinated. And I'm only aware of 2 town employees who have not been vaccinated, and they do not have face-to-face interactions with the public. That said, if someone were to come into one of our facilities and they felt more comfortable with us wearing a mask, then we would put on a mask. I think at that point, just out of respect and courtesy to our citizens. And at the Center for All Seasons, we would treat that as RSU 18 is treating their schools. And that is whenever children and their adult caretakers are inside the facility, they would wear masks because, you know, children cannot yet be vaccinated. And if they are outside, then they could unmask. And again, that's exactly how RSU 18 is handling the situation within their schools. I sent you guys some information yesterday that indicated 52% of Belgrade has been vaccinated to date. And, you know, at this point, I just assume that anyone who wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated to date. And because we've been following the state guidelines, which have been based upon science, I think that's what we should continue doing. But ultimately, you know, that'll be a decision I think that the board makes. But that's my recommendation.
So does that mean, and I'm under the impression that we have a town employee who's been working remotely, would that person then be working back in the facility where their job is at?
That employee for the last several weeks has not been working remotely.
So they're back. Okay.
That's correct. So Rick, you asked my opinion. Now, what's your opinion?
Well, I got a little bit mixed feelings on this. I mean, I know of several people in this town that have got the virus right now or just getting over it. So it's not going away. I mean, they can play this game all they want. Yeah, the vaccinations are out there. People have had them. How do we even know it's going to work? How do you come up with a vaccination that quick? I mean, come on. Been in the medical field at all, they don't come up with them that quick. They did, we'd had cancer cured by now. But I'm just a little concerned about this. But, you know, if that's the way people want to go, that's fine. I guess they got to make their own decision what they want to do. I sure the heck don't want to get it because I'm a dead man. I can tell you that. But I've been vaccinated and hope for the best.
But I think, Ricky, part of it is if you're comfortable with wearing a mask, even if you're vaccinated, you can still wear a mask. And I think people are going to do that, even though the governor says they're releasing that. And if you look at our 7-day rolling average, has decreased, even though they give a reported 300 cases a day or 250, you have to look at the 7-day. So I know there are people in communities that are still having or developing COVID, but if you're comfortable wearing the mask, I think that's the best thing about it is you can still wear your mask, you know, if that's what you want to do. I'm going to do that, but you know, that's just my comfort, how comfortable I am. But you know, but I agree with Anthony is we follow the CDC guidelines all along ever since the development of COVID. And we've done well with that. So I think it would be hard for us not to follow those guidelines right now. So.
I'm in agreement with that. I think if somebody wants to wear their mask, they can wear their masks, and we just stick with the guidelines the way they are right now. The shots aren't going to keep you from getting COVID. My mother's in a nursing home in Augusta. 2 days ago, they called me up and says she's got COVID. She's had her shots. She feels like she has a bad cold, but it's hopefully right now it's not getting any worse than that.
It will lessen the hospitalizations and, like you said, Dan, and decrease the symptoms versus maybe not getting it. You know, the bigger concern I see in the future in the fall is influenza. We've eradicated it. You know, what flu vaccine are we going to get in the fall? We don't know yet. So that's another thing we're going to have to think about in the future.
So Dan, I'm curious, what is the legislature doing?
We don't know. The Legislative Council hasn't made up their mind. Right now, we're under the assumption that Monday we can go back into the State House without our masks. They could have their Legislative Council meet on Thursday, I think it is their meet, and they could say, no, the policy is we're going to stick to this.
So Dan, can I speak for a second?
Sure.
The CDC says that if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. But how do you know if anybody's vaccinated?
You don't.
You don't.
You know what I'm saying?
You
It's
don't,
the honor system,
yeah.
Gary. And but the honor system only works if people have honor. And,
Exactly right. Exactly right. So,
you just hope they do,
What it amounts to is if you've been vaccinated and you feel comfortable enough that you don't want to wear your mask, you take the chance of having COVID. Hopefully it won't be as bad as it was before.
no, and like I said, I've been vaccinated, but everybody that comes into the town office, if you ask them, what are you going to ask them? Have you been vaccinated?
No,
And
you
they can
really
say,
aren't going to be able, you aren't really going to be able to do that. But if you're more comfortable to put your mask on when they come in to talk, put your mask on.
Yeah, and I would think, Gary has a lot of people who come into his office and if we decide that people, can shed their mask if they feel comfortable doing so, I would tell all of our staff, if someone were to go into Gary's office or someone comes into my office and they're wearing a mask, I'm going to put my mask on as a
Right.
courtesy.
Well,
right.
and does
No,
it
I
bother
just,
me
I
that
just
if
thinking-
somebody goes into Gary's office and they don't have a mask on,
Mhm.
there's no 6 feet of distance if somebody's sitting on the other side of your desk.
No, there
But
is not.
But the CDC, you don't have 6 feet of distance anymore.
Right.
There is,
CDC.
So-
there is.
And
So
that's why I kind of.
that's when it's up to Gary whether or not he wants to put his mask on. If they don't have a mask and he wants to put one on, it's perfectly fine.
Well, and that's where, when Anthony and I talked about it, I said, I'm not 100% comfortable with that because I feel like if Gary wants to require people who come into his office to have a mask on, is he allowed to do that?
Mhm. Well, and that's my question. Am I allowed to do that?
Like, are you allowed to, can we, if you're coming into my office, please mask up.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, I can't ask people, have you been vaccinated?
Right.
Well, and I think that would be a fruitless exercise anyway, because if they're not, then you just don't
Right.
know if they're gonna say so or not. So
So can
Exactly right. Exactly.
I had a scenario the other day, Anthony, or if I could speak, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
That's okay.
But I had a one-on-one meeting with somebody for a discussion, and I walked in the room and the person was not wearing a mask. So I asked the gentleman, do you have a mask? And he went into a suit coat and said, oh, no mask. I'm sorry, the person I met with before was very comfortable with that situation. And I said, I'm sorry, I am not. I will get you a mask. And I took the mask and I asked the person to wear the mask, and they were very open to do that. But that's what I think Gary would need to do is, are the masks there? Can he offer the person a mask? And if they don't, can they go to where they're comfortable and not in a small office? So.
Oh, yes, I do think that is definitely a possibility, Christine. We actually had, and this is such a rare occasion now because people have been very good about wearing their masks into the town office. We had a young lady who came into the town office just yesterday. She refused to wear a mask. And so we helped her outside where it's much safer. And so I think that that if we had employees who felt uncomfortable with people who are not masked, they could always ask them, hey, do you mind if we have this conversation outside?
Well, and then I think so that's why we need to have, a policy, I guess, because you could then ask that young lady if you can conduct business outside and she can say no. And then when does the public's rights supersede town employees' comfort?
Yeah,
And their safety. I mean, I don't know if someone's sneezing on me, period, COVID or
Right.
not. And, or coughing.
Yeah, and if she had come into our office on next Tuesday, and she said, no, I'm not wearing a mask. Well, the state government is saying she doesn't have to wear a mask. And so in that instance, we do have a layer of protection in that we're separated by a plexiglass shield. And so, for those instances, it does provide some level of protection. Now, Gary and I don't have shields in our office, but You know.
No, we
could find
don't.
ways- Yeah, we could find.
I
ways
don't
to
know. I
navigate
just,
that.
I think probably it's just, I don't know. I don't, I think that the state is loosening their restrictions too early. I really do.
And really kind of quickly, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I look at Ricky. I mean, one of the things that we talked about a few months ago was how could we go to some sort of a hybrid select
Mhm.
board meetings? And so that folks could stay home, who were comfortable being home, who
Yeah,
didn't want to be in a public setting for a meeting. And,
exactly.
you know, just the change in how we've all, you know, changed with this in the last year and a half. I didn't think twice about having customers sit 2 feet from me across my desk.
I know.
And now I have my sanitary wipes, they touch my stuff, I'm cleaning my stuff, you know, and I want that space between me and other folks.
Yeah,
So we've got to try to figure out as a town, how do we balance
exactly right.
the guidelines and still give our town employees the ability to speak up for themselves, that the state guidelines may say that you don't need to wear a mask, but my comfort level and, you know, in order for me to do my job effectively, if you're coming into my office, I need you to have a mask on. If you don't want to put a mask on, then we need to step into the conference room so that there's space between us and that you can feel comfortable doing your job.
Exactly right. And that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Is there a way, that plexiglass can be put up in Gary's office? Would that work, Gary, if he's to help protect you? If it was a way to split your desk
Could.
in half
Yeah.
with plexiglass, would you
I
be
have,
able?
I have one in my Sydney office.
Yeah, we could do that, Bruce. You know, I think Melanie raises a good option in that, you know, we've got that boardroom right there next to Gary's office, and we've got the conference room just outside my office. And there have been times where I've met with people in that conference room, so we could, you know, we're wearing masks, but we could achieve a little greater social distance. So those are all.
I mean,
those are all.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do. I mean, the girls up front all have plexiglass. I don't. Anthony doesn't.
Yeah, we do have plexiglass at the library as well.
Exactly right.
Yeah. The other thing you could do too is Gary could always, if somebody doesn't want to wear a mask, have them go out to the front counter, and Gary can go behind the front counter and deal with that. Deal with that one person too.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've done that.
So
I feel like what I'm getting from Gary is, you know, folks want a little bit of guidance from us. Like the state may be saying one thing and the CDC may be saying something, but do they still have the right to choose for themselves their level of comfort, and will we back them up?
I don't think they do.
And
I don't think they do.
Right,
You know,
but
they say,
as a town,
if you're vaccinated, then you're welcome to come in with no mask. Well, nobody knows if you're vaccinated or not. And
but I think the other thing I was seeing, Gary, is that businesses and that are still going to have the right to say that.
Those are private entities.
They're private businesses.
Those are private entities. You can't ask that question. You
Yeah,
can't. You can't ask that
public
question.
buildings, you're not going to be able to.
You're not going to be, you have to follow the CDC and the state regulations. So my recommendation, Gary, if you're uncomfortable and you would want somebody to wear a mask, that you're going to have to ask them to wear a mask during your meeting with them.
Perfect.
I think a lot of people are going to continue to wear masks. I think that people are scared, and you know, the healthcare regulations, they have not changed that for any of us. We have to continue to wear masks. We cannot have more than 6 people in a conference room, you know, so they're still maintaining that for healthcare. But for the community where people are all vaccinated, you know, it's a comfort level. And if you're not comfortable, you need to ask them to wear a mask.
And,
When-
and yes.
And it's
the
not
town-
that I'm not
Yes, the town
comfortable.
will back you.
It's not that I'm not comfortable. But when you can't ask somebody, have you been vaccinated?
No, but you can say, it's none of my business whether or not you're vaccinated. But I feel more comfortable in this small space if you're wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask.
Okay, perfect.
If they don't, just ask them if they'll move to the boardroom or out
Yep.
front or somewhere else.
Okay, that works for me.
I mean, at some point, the select board meetings are probably gonna have to go back to in person too, because when the governor ever lifts that state of emergency, the Zoom meetings aren't gonna be basically legal anymore. These are all just part of that state of emergency.
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, and that's correct. I got asked about that earlier, and within 30 days, all the rules revert back to pre-pandemic. And unless there is some change in executive order or legislation, then remote meetings won't be allowed. I assume that there'll be some allowance for that, just because it seems like there's a growing level of support for remote meetings.
There may be, but I haven't. Well, there may be, but I haven't seen anything come through. And technically, we're supposed to be done this Friday. So I know there's no more legislation going in after this Friday. So
are you going to put something in?
I don't think you've got time for that. Right now we're scrambling trying to get the water district legislation in for us.
Dan, can I ask a question? In the federal government, there's waivers for CDC, and the state legislature if the governor releases the emergency waiver or the emergency, do you have do they do it from 1 year or to 30 days?
That I don't know. I don't know. I'll when I see my legislative aide, I can ask, see if I can find out something.
Some of the literature that I've read is they're asking towns or organizations to identify what waivers they are utilizing and be prepared to have them pulled back soon.
One thing I would like to do just to help our public feel more comfortable is I would like to post some signage at the town office just saying town office employees have been vaccinated, just to ease some of the concerns.
Nope.
You don't think so?
I think that's people's health information and it's nobody else's business. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll wear my button that says I'm vaccinated, but.
Yeah, I mean, if the employees want to let people know or even get some buttons, and if they want to wear them, that's fine.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get some stickers or something.
That's their choice, so.
Yeah.
And like I talked earlier with you, Anthony, we should get signs to put out in front. If you have a cold, if you have, a fever or sneezing, just like in the beginning, please wear your mask and make sure those are all posted around there, because they should still, whether they're vaccinated or not, wear their mask.
So Christine, does Maine General have some I've been vaccinated stickers?
No, actually, we do not. Only for our influenza. They did not give them to us for our COVID vaccine because they said they could not. But the ones that say I've been vaccinated actually are for influenza. So they didn't give them to us for COVID.
I got my shots at the Civic Center and they gave me a sticker.
Oh, you mean, those kinds. Oh, I can ask that from the prevention center. Like, I've been vaccinated. I thought you meant
Absolutely.
Yeah,
They gave me
I
a
can ask
sticker.
that.
Sticker said I've been COVIDated vaccinated.
Sure you got it there, or did you get it at Walmart to be in a good shop?
Rick, it's not still on my shirt. I tore it off.
Maybe we should all just have it tattooed on our arm.
Oh, we don't want to go there.
Okay, we beat that up enough. Let's move on.
Okay, so that I'm clear, we're gonna follow the state guidelines, correct?
State guidelines and encourage people to wear their mask if they need to, if we need them to.
And for people who would want to come and talk to Gary, is there a supply of masks that could be made available to people?
Yes, ma'am. We have a big supply of them at the town office, and occasionally we have someone who comes in and they walk in and they've forgotten their mask, and we hand them a mask. That's all I have for the town manager's report.
All right, that's doable. I just want our employees to feel comfortable and know that we support them. And that if they're uncomfortable, we will back them.
No, I'm comfortable. I just, you can't ask somebody, have you been vaccinated?
No, and I just, everybody, I mean, they're the library, the rec center. I mean, I want to make
Exactly.
sure that,
I mean, we have all been vaccinated. Every employee in the town of Belgrade.
Yeah, we have a directors meeting on Thursday, and so that we'll be talking about how we're going to approach next week during that directors meeting.
Yeah.
all right, perfect. Does anybody have anything else they want to throw down about? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, good night, everyone.
I,
Hey, Anthony, before you
Yes,
take,
sir.
hold on, before you take
Oh,
off.
okay.